Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome back. This is Vanessa. For those of you who are just joining me, I am new here and I am so excited to introduce these new videos that I will be putting out every Monday, which will be entitled Mental Health Monday. So today I wanted to come in and do this first video just because of the controversy I'm seeing around mental health and GLP-1 medications. So, for those of you who don't know, I am a psychotherapist and I am doing an experiment or experience on myself, hence the name of the channel, The Black Woman GLP-1 Experience. And I am wanting to see what a GLP-1 medication can do for me. So my chosen medication is Zepbound. I am 3 weeks into the 2.5 milligram dose, and I look forward to reporting on my first month. Another reason why I am doing this is because I work with women who have had bariatric surgeries as well as who take and have taken GLP-1 medications, which are not new. So they have been 20 years in the making. And so for me, working with women for a number of years, the women that I work with experience a lot of the side effects and also some mental health challenges, as well as there are some mental health improvements around it. So I thought that it would be great to come in and start a conversation around mental health and GLP-1 medications to one, remove the stigma away from not only mental health, but also the use of GLP-1 medications. You are all welcome here, and I appreciate you joining me for this. I know presentations can be long, so I will try to keep this as short as possible. Just to give a quick disclaimer, this information that I will be sharing here and on in upcoming videos will be for informational and educational purposes only. I am not a medical doctor, so please consult your healthcare provider if you are seeking any medical advice for your own personal health. I am a psychotherapist. I am not your therapist. So if you are seeking support for your mental health, I also encourage reaching out to a licensed mental health provider in your area. That being said, this is going to be a conversation that I hope will be engaging for all of us. I'm hoping that we can discuss mental health and the use of GLP-1 medications and our experiences and gain more information around it. Knowledge is power. So the more information we have as GLP-1 users, then the more prepared we will be to assist ourselves with any of the side effects, whether they involve our mental health or physical health. I will dive on into what GLP-1s are. So, for most of you, you are probably already aware of this, but for the sake of this presentation, and for anyone who has not begun their journey and is looking for more information, I will share this. GLP-1 stands for glucagon like peptide 1. It is a natural hormone in all of our bodies that plays a role in regulating blood sugar, controlling our appetite, and slowing our digestion. The synthetic form of the GLP-1, or glucagon like peptide 1, is your Zepbound and your Wegovy. It is not the natural form. This is important because when you think about low blood sugar or high blood sugar impacts one's physical and their mental, it affects how one may feel mentally in terms of being hangry. When you may experience low or high blood sugar, it's going to impact your physical body as well as your mental. Some people look at it as I am hangry or my blood sugar is low, and so I need to eat something. And once they eat, they actually feel better. So, this is an example of just what happens to us when our blood sugar is impacted. Controlling appetite is something that all of us are interested in if we are using GLP-1 medications to assist in support with cravings and also not overeating. Slowing the digestion is another part of the GLP-1 hormone. And so the GLP-1 medication acts in this way as well. However, because the GLP-1 hormone naturally, when it is made, it lasts in our brains, in our stomachs for about 3 minutes, whereas the GLP-1 medication can last up to a week. And so, with these changes, if our bodies are adjusting to this hormone in the way that it does through synthetic medications or synthetic form, then our minds will also be adjusting. So, this could play a part in some of the mental health changes that individuals are experiencing. To dive into the meat of this presentation, I'm going to talk about the possible influence that GLP-1 medications may have on our brain chemistry. In our culture here in this country, we consider optimal health to be achieved through exercise, proper nutrition, adequate sleep, which is actually between 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep, and then rest. So, sleep and rest are two different things. Sleep is you are sleeping through the night or the day, depending on your work schedule. And then rest is you are not sleeping, but you are sitting down and relaxing. The women that I work with, I teach them a lot of mindfulness and meditation practices to help them begin to learn to rest because this is really a foreign idea for women. Rest is not the norm. We tend to put everything and everybody before ourselves, especially our families, and rest is put on the back burner. I like to lay that out as the foundation because is what we believe in this culture to be or lead to optimal health. A healthy body supports a healthy mind. This is true, but then I will also say that a healthy mind will support a healthy body. When you are feeling great mentally and emotionally, you are going to want to do the things. Just think about it. If you wake up and you feel amazing, chances are you had a good night's sleep. And then you are going to want to eat breakfast. You may want to work out. You may have a more peaceful day, and so your mind is in a good place. And so then you do what you need to do for your body. So your mind also supports your body. This is the piece that's missing because we talk a lot about the physical. And in the work that I do with women, I am always helping them to bring the two together. So, harmonizing and connecting your mind and your body. If your mind is not connected to your body, then you are disconnected emotionally and mentally. And then for your body, you are disembodied. So, I always say, think about the infinity sign. You want this to flow in harmony. What happens here shows up here, and then what happens here in the body, it shows up here in the mind. This may alter dopamine and serotonin signaling, which impacts mood regulation. So they're saying GLP-1 medications, based on some of the research, may contribute to this. So dopamine and serotonin are neurotransmitters that support our mood regulation. And if this is taking place, then it does make sense that one's mental health would be impacted via the use of a GLP-1 medication. Now, whether it is the cause of or the catalyst towards, we don't know. We're just still waiting for more research to be done on that. Gastrointestinal side effects. So, the gastro side effects, such as persistent nausea, fatigue, constipation, or any other discomfort that may occur, could impact your mental health. If these side effects are ongoing, then one is going to not feel their best. They're not going to feel like their optimum self. So you may feel depressed or saddened by what is taking place. When you're tired, When we are tired, we are not our best selves anyhow. So think about the others being nauseous, which is not a normal part of the body functioning. It happens from time to time or due to other factors. When these symptoms are ongoing, they definitely impact one's mental and emotional health. So it does make sense that there would be some anxiety or depression, these side effects contributing to depressive symptoms. Also, I'd like to share that you do not have to have a diagnosis of depression to experience the symptoms. Sometimes depression can be situational. So let's say someone is using a GLP-1 medication and they start to feel a lot of these side effects and depression shows up, then that would be situational. It would not be a clinical diagnosis that one would have to have, but it would just be something to pay attention to. The quality of one's life may be reduced if these symptoms are unmanaged. So that is important too, because let's think about individuals who are on a GLP-1 medication and they don't know that they could lower the dose back or find another GLP-1 medication that may work best for them. And this could create some distress and contribute to mental health challenges. The impacts or effects as a result of rapid weight loss is not good. So, psychological stress and identity changes can be linked to weight loss. And I can honestly say that I see this with some of the women that I work with in terms of identifying with their body that has experienced overweight or obesity, and then having a new body that they don't recognize, which leads to this newer version of oneself who they're not familiar with. For a lot of people, it feels really good to get to this weight, but then once there, you settle into your new identity and then you're really focusing on the changes. And some people may walk past the mirror and not recognize themselves. So it does change one's mental health as it relates to identity to a degree. Potential hormonal disruption. Now, here's my area of concentration because I am a trauma therapist. And so, increased cortisol and norepinephrine are the two hormones that we want to pay attention to based on, let's say, trauma. So, fight or flight. Cortisol and norepinephrine are both hormones that show up in the body or in the brain when we experience stress or trauma. So, this being the case may contribute to anxiety, depression, and stress because these hormones can impact the body as well as the brain in ways that you can come back from, but that could be really devastating. But these are normal hormones that our bodies produce. You know, once upon a time, we had to run from dinosaurs. Now it's more of the stress of working long hours versus having work life balance. So, appetite regulation. GLP-1 receptors are located in parts of our brain, mostly the hypothalamus. I would say look this up and find out for yourself, doing your due diligence and researching what the hypothalamus does. Now, there may be some dysfunction with this as it is connected to obesity and overweight, but we are not sure of that connection as it relates to GLP-1 medications, but it is definitely something to pay attention to. When GLP-1 is active, it does signal fullness and lets us know that we are satisfied sooner, and then we crave less food, so we don't eat when it is regulated. However, I always tell the women that I work with that your brain, you have two. You have your brain here and then your stomach. Your stomach is your second brain. And with that, your brain sends messages to your stomach, and your stomach sends messages to your brain. So there are receptors that receive those hormones, the information that lets you know, hey, I'm full, don't eat. This may not be regulated for a lot of us who experience overweight or obesity. So there could be a connection there as well. Reward system and dopamine. The pleasure centers of the brain is connected to addictions. We all have pathways in our brains, and we create new neural pathways in our brains. What my belief is that GLP-1 medications are helping us users of GLP-1s to create new neural pathways. What that looks like is when you have changes to your habits, if your habitual patterns change, let's say one for me, I will experience stress or have a challenging day at work, and I will go to the chocolate. That was before Zepbound. So that is a neural pathway that I travel on when I experience stress. So for GLP-1 medication use, this is retraining our brains to no longer go down that path. So think of your brain as a road where they are changing lanes and doing work on one side of the road. And then now you have to take the new side of the road. You have to take the detour. So neural pathways are very similar to that. But addiction, they are seeing that there are some changes to individuals who are using GLP-1 medications in terms of addiction, anywhere from alcohol use disorder to substance use disorder to gambling and smoking and food or sugar, I will say for me, is one of the exciting things that's coming into play as research continues to evolve. All right. So, mood and stress responses. There is, as I mentioned, some research that is being done, and it is also suggesting that GLP-1 may influence mood regulation because of its effects on neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. So we talked about dopamine a little bit and serotonin. They both regulate the mood, but dopamine is that one that gives us that feeling of excitement and joy and happiness. It is the thing that our brains usually chase because we need that to a degree. However, with now social media and smartphones and things of that nature, there are cheap dopamine hits. And sometimes food can be that. So if you like sugar and chocolate like me, that's a cheap dopamine hit. It sends signals to my brain once it hits my stomach that all is well in the world. However, with social media, the likes and the, even here on YouTube, the subscribers and the videos viewed send dopamine hits to the brain. And so food or sugar could be very similar to that. And then with serotonin, that regulates our mood. So if one is feeling low mood or high energy mood, then this is being impacted or said to be impacted. Or in this case, these research studies are showing that they may influence the regulation of dopamine and serotonin, which is a good thing. Going back to rapid weight loss and body changes, this can also shift stress hormones like cortisol and norepinephrine. This could bring challenges as it relates to anxiety and emotional balance. Our moods change as they should. Our emotions are ever flowing. We have a broad range of emotions and we have access to all of them. Not near one of them are bad or good, they just are. And so if we are fluctuating based on rapid weight loss changes to the body, which if you're losing muscle mass, if you're losing too much water, if you're not getting electrolytes, if you're not getting or doing all of the things that are recommended while taking the GLP-1 medication, then absolutely you will experience some of these challenges more so than others. Unmet expectations, believe it or not, some of these medications don't work for everyone. And individuals may feel disappointed if the weight loss does not lead to some of the broader life improvements that they were hoping for. Some individuals may not experience the weight loss that they were intending to. I know in working with women who have bariatric surgeries or have had bariatric surgeries, the weight loss is 99.9% a guarantee that you will lose about 40 to 50% of your weight. For GLP-1 medications, that is not the case. So if one believed that they would lose more weight and they don't, that would become a problem. However, if one loses the weight or even more of the weight, this could also become a problem. For instance, some people believe that their life is going to change miraculously, and it may not. Some people believe that they are going to find the love of their life, that they're going to find that job, get that new car, life is going to be great. And it doesn't change in those areas. Life is still the same, then that creates some stress. I'll even use this example that may not be the best example, but it kind of drives the point home, more serious in nature. So let's say someone believes that when they lose the weight, that their partner may become more attracted to them and infidelity may not be an issue anymore. And let's say that doesn't happen, or it happens temporarily and then it returns, which that's all about another person. It's not about you or your weight. However, this is a very real issue, and some individuals, I'll say more so women, experience this and then they internalize it. And then it just creates a whole slew of emotions and an emotional spiral and down and out. Disappointment is an emotion, and so it is relevant and valid and appropriate. Emotional distress when outcomes do not match the expectations is basically what I'm sharing here. So, cognitive benefits, there's still some up and coming research that is hinting at the fact that GLP-1s may have some neuroprotective effects, in that this assists in reducing inflammation in the brain and supporting memory. This I am happy to learn about because in one of my 150,000 million jobs in my career, I know that's an exaggeration, but I've worked with seniors who have had diagnosis of dementia and Alzheimer's. And so this is exciting for me that possibly in the future, this may not be an issue. So this is looking more like preventative measures of GLP-1 medications that could prevent individuals from experiencing dementia or Alzheimer's. And then pre-existing conditions. So I wanted to close out on this because there are pre-existing conditions of depression and anxiety, which could increase the vulnerability for more symptoms in individuals who already experience depression or anxiety or has a clinical diagnosis of depression or anxiety. But unfortunately, these individuals in this population has been excluded from a lot of the trials. And so those psychiatric conditions are not studied in connection with GLP-1 use. I would like to see that change because it will give us mental health professionals more information to work with when we are working with individuals who are using GLP-1 medications and seeing the changes because we see them first, working directly with the individuals who have these mental health conditions and either are experiencing an exacerbation of the symptoms or seeing a reduction in the symptoms. So, heightened negative mood changes and anxiety are very common conditions, and they are also very common symptoms that could come up with the use of GLP-1 medications. That's my time, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I look forward to doing more videos on mental health topics. They will be entitled again Mental Health Monday. I look forward to your questions and your joining in on the conversation so that we can destigmatize mental health, and especially as it relates to the use of GLP-1 medications. Remember that your mental health matters. It is important. You matter, and that your overall health, not just your physical health, but your mental health included, matters. And it is wealth. Health is wealth. And so it's time that we start thinking about our bodies as a whole, from head to toe. As I tell my clients, I am a part of your wellness team. I am in this for getting you to your healthiest, most happiest, and more whole self. So, whatever that looks like for every individual is different. And I will get more into that in upcoming videos. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all soon.